Marshalltown City Council. We are City Hall Council Chambers at 10 West State Street, February 27th, 2023. It is 5:30 p.m. If you can or are able, would you please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? Thank you. Let's have a roll call.
Hoop. Isom. Kell.
Here.
Lottie Hoff.
Here.
Schneider.
Here.
Thompson.
Here.
Walker.
Here. Public comment. Members of the public may make comments on any item which there was not on the agenda during this time. The speaker shall approach the microphone and state his or her name and address. Comments shall be limited to 3 minutes unless a longer comment is authorized by the mayor. The speaker shall direct comments to the mayor and to the council as a whole. The mayor and councilors shall not engage in discussion or debate on items raised by members of the public, and no action may be taken on items raised in public comments in order to comply with open meeting laws. With that, does anyone have any public comments?
Hello, Jim Shaw, 522 North 2nd Street. I'm here today to speak about our vicious dog ordinance and pit bulls. There are at least 10 to 12 pit bulls within a 5 to 6 block area where I live. We also have a vicious dog ordinance, but it doesn't do anything until after the incident happens. The wording of the enforcement for our dog ordinance only goes into effect after a pet or a person is attacked. I assume the people who wrote the ordinance thought the only damages from a dog bite would be a nip in the pant leg, maybe a few scrapes and scratches. This is not what happens when a pit bull or another vicious dog attacks. An elderly man was killed this past Friday, just 4 days ago, and his companion, a 74-year-old woman, were critically injured in what I quote was a horrific dog attack in San Antonio, Texas, Friday, authorities said. They were visiting friends in the area. They were attacked by 2 dogs from a neighboring property after exiting their vehicle on a public sidewalk, according to the San Antonio Police Department. Those couples got mauled, not in the pant leg. Can you imagine what the man who was bitten to death was thinking as the dogs mauled him? A relative of theirs also suffered a bite to the hand, and a fire captain was bit in the leg while responding to the attack. When other firefighters arrived, the dog was still actively attacking the couple and had to be fended off with pickaxes and poles. A man was later arrested in connection with the attack and is facing a charge of attack by a dangerous dog causing death and a charge of injury to elderly. This didn't help the guy that died. The dogs, American Staffordshire Terriers, pit bulls, were euthanized Friday night. Another incident the past couple of days in Chesterfield, Maine. A 6-year-old girl from Maine was hospitalized and had to receive 1,000 stitches. 1,000 stitches to just her face after a pit bull attacked her. Imagine her future. She's got 1,000 stitches in her face. Is this a possibility in Marshalltown? Yes. Why? Because of the high number of pit bulls in town and the failure of our existing ordinance to control them. Will this be detrimental to our city? Oh yes, both for the publicity and probably the resulting lawsuit for damages, especially after you've been told about this repeatedly about the danger and have ignored it. I can just imagine the future advertising for the Chamber of Commerce. Welcome to Marshalltown, pit bull capital of Iowa. I know some of you are sitting here thinking this is crap. I know someone who owns pit bulls and they're the gentlest dogs I've ever seen. Yes, there are good pit bulls, but they're in the vast minority. The numerous incidents from pit bull owners who are baffled when their gentle pit bulls turn vicious. The ordinance we need should be similar to the one in Des Moines, which is extremely prohibitive. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. Does anyone else have any comments?
Amy Dimerly Snyder, 1106 West Main, and I also own Lily Mae Chocolates in the 13th Street District. I just want to tell the council thank you so much for the support of the 13th Street District and the support of tourism in Marshalltown, and I want to thank the chamber as well. Today alone, we had 4 different couples from the Newton area that came into our store, and they were so excited about how nice Marshalltown is looking. They were excited about the artwork, and I know that Artwork is, I think, on the agenda tonight. And they also just were so excited about the 13th Street District and how it has come from a dilapidated area into just this vibrant, exciting area. And it is only with the support of the council and the citizens of Marshalltown that has happened. So I just want to say thank you to everybody. And as a business owner, it makes me very proud to be a part of Marshalltown. And I appreciate the support.
Thank you, Amy.
City Council members, my name is Thad Lentz. I live at 2001 Westwood Drive, and I have lived in Marshalltown for 48 years. I have never been compelled to reach out to a City Council member until now. I have read that the City Council has discussed a variety of options for saving money by closing the compost facility on certain days. I believe it was the city administrator that originally suggested Monday and Tuesday because those are the slowest days. Ultimately, and forgive me if I'm wrong, your latest decision is to only have the compost open Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. My question to you is, do any of you use the facility on a regular basis? Not after a beautiful derecho or a lovely tornado, or when you decide to trim the bushes, but on a weekly basis. If you did, you would know this is not a good option. I personally catch my grass every time I mow, and I take the grass to the compost. I'm certainly not the only one, as there is a large pile of grass there every time I go. I also voluntarily help others out as often as I can. I took 27 truckloads to the compost from one property in 21 at my own expense. I take smaller trees down for other people. I have never had a tree in my yard, but I own 3 chainsaws and made over 100 compost trips after the derecho for other people, again at no charge. I pick up limbs in random yards when I see they have fallen. I even give my name and number to the workers at the compost in case somebody calls and needs assistance, and I do it for free. The new proposed days would basically force me to mow my lawn on certain days, and my options to help people would be seriously limited. Leaving a bunch of grass laying around for 2 or 3 days waiting for the compost to open would create a disgusting mess. Cutting down someone's trees or picking up their fallen branch and bringing that debris back to my property, because the compost isn't open, could create a pest control nightmare. As a business manager, I understand budgets and the need to sometimes make cuts. If you must reduce the days the compost facility is open, I would ask that you strongly consider Sunday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday to be open. Saturday and Sunday for the obvious reasons that a majority of residents don't work those days. If you add Tuesday and Thursday to the schedule, then the compost would not be closed for more than 1 day at a time, but still allow you to cut the budget for staff dollars by 47%, eliminating 24 of 51 employee hours from the previous schedule. This would also address your staffing issues. I don't believe the reason the compost facility exists is to make a profit. If that's the case, are you going to look at reducing the days the aquatic center is open as well? We all know that facility isn't a profitable one. The general idea of a city compost facility is to encourage people to take care of their properties, keep yards looking nice by removing leaves, limbs, and other dead vegetation, and give residents a place to take the debris, like the Christmas tree drop-off, instead of dumping the material in a ditch or a garbage dumpster. The city should not make it difficult for residents to do this. I appreciate your time and consideration on this matter.
Thank you. Do we have anyone else who'd like to make a public comment? Okay, let's move on to the consent agenda. Oh, mayor, council, and administrator comments. Does anyone have any comments they'd like to make?
Your Honor, if I may,
Yes, you may.
I just want to let the public know that they can buy 2 wonderful trucks that we are selling on GovDeals. It's a website for those you don't know. It's used by municipalities, other organizations. So the city now has 2 pickups listed and 790 60-minute cassette tapes for all you old people that still play cassettes. And then the 4th thing is listed, and I know you guys are going to run out of the meeting tonight and go bid on this. We have a street sweeper that's for sale. So you got to beat her bid. So anyway, but I just want, just let you know that the city is disposing of some used property, and it's a wonderful way to get your own street sweeper. And you can come to my neighborhood first. Thank you. Thanks, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Your Honor,
Yes.
I'd like to announce that Cleaniac is going to hold the annual citywide cleanup day on Saturday, April 22nd. There will be more details to come online on our Facebook page. And mainly, if you're interested in leading a group, we'd love it if you'd email us, and we'll try to assign you a place to go. Thanks.
Thank you.
Saturday, April 22nd. It's Earth Day.
Anyone else? I've noticed from my comments the past month, the restaurants seem to be doing very well in town. There's waiting lines. I was uptown last weekend, and everything looked full. People are getting out, enjoying Marshalltown, and we have a lot to enjoy in Marshalltown. So let's hope we're all getting out of this funk and getting out and enjoying ourselves. Okay. Let's move on to the consent agenda. I'd entertain a motion.
I'd motion to approve, Your Honor.
Have a motion?
Second.
Have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda. Roll call.
Thompson,
Yes.
Walker,
Yes.
Hoop,
Yes.
Kell,
Yes.
Lottie Hoff,
Yes.
Schneider.
Yes.
Approve the minutes for the February 13th, 2023 meeting. The bill listed amount of $1,231,959.16. Approve the January 2023 financial statements. Approve liquor license renewals for Jiffy at 111 South 3rd Avenue, Wandering Creek at 2436 233rd Street, American Legion at 1301 South 6th Street, and permanent premise transfer of Oliver Bean Designs to 2500 South Center Street, Suite 210. Resolution 2023-31, approving the city fee schedule. Resolution 2023-32, to approve the use of council-designated local option sales tax for the deficit in Fund 183 Economic Development Incentive. Resolution 2023-33, approving contract change order number 1 for the South 7th Avenue Extension Project number ECO 22001. Resolution 2023-34, approving the Iowa Department of Transportation Project Funding Agreement Addendum number 21-TAP-167-A for the Iowa River Trail Bridge Replacement, number 2 to number 5. Resolution 2023-35, approving a supplemental agreement for professional services with Calhoun Burns and Associates, Inc. for the 2023 Bridge Inspection and Rating Program. Resolution 2023-36, authorizing the Public Works to submit one structure to the Iowa Department of Transportation Highway Bridge Program. Resolution 2023-37, setting the date for a public hearing on Urban Renewal Plan Amendment for the Marshalltown Urban Renewal Area Number 4. Resolution 2023-38, authorizing the purchase of one Chevy Silverado 1500 four-wheel drive for the Parks and Recreation Department from Carl Chevrolet for the price of $40,924.90. And one more. Resolution 2339, ordering construction for the Marshalltown Facade Rehabilitation Project number ECO 21002, setting public hearing on proposed plans and specifications, form of contract, and estimated cost, and directing publication of notice to bidders.
Thank you. Moving on, resolution.
Resolution 2023-40, accepting the Arts and Culture Master Plan.
Have a motion for approval.
I'll make that motion, Your Honor.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Amber,
Yes.
before you start, I was given a note
shoot.
that you won the 2023 State of Iowa Governor's Arts Award as an emerging arts leader.
This is accurate.
That's a pretty big
yes.
award.
Thank you.
It's nice to know that your efforts don't go unnoticed.
Thank you. That's very kind. Yes,
Okay.
I feel honored. I'm sorry, it's cutting some things off, so
bear with me. Amber Danielson, 803 West Main Street. I'm the Executive Director of the Arts and Culture Alliance, and I am excited to be up here to finally reveal our first ever City of Marshalltown Arts and Culture Master Plan. First off, wanted to say thank you for your support and patience. This process took a little longer than we anticipated, but I believe good things happen to those who wait. And I also wanted to thank the support of Marshalltown Company for supporting this planning effort. And then before I get started, I wanted to say, if you are here tonight to support the master plan, I want you to raise your hand, please. And keep it up so Robert can get a great picture. Smile, you're going to be in the TR tomorrow. I'm just going to give a high-level overview of the planning effort. I know I've talked to many of you about it already, and then I'm going to invite up one of our co-chairs to talk a little bit about it, and then we'll open it up for some conversation and questions. Jessica, can I? I can. Sorry, it's going to cut off some of this. So this plan, the Arts and Culture Master Plan, aligns with and contributes to the already influential plans guiding Marshalltown. Plans like the Trails Master Plan, the Downtown Master Plan, Highway 14 Corridor, Parks and Rec Plan. The intention of this planning effort was not to have another plan. It was, though, to have a deeper dive and another level into the plans that already exist, and is essentially to be an implementation strategy for how we realize the priorities and recommendations through a creative approach in those plans. And to answer the question, how do we make Marshalltown unique, distinct, and authentically reflect the people who call it home? You'll notice that this document is ambitious and aspirational. It's a 10-year plan, and although this planning effort was led by the Arts and Culture Alliance in partnership with a 13-member steering committee, this plan belongs to our community, and it belongs to all of us. We believe that the time is now. I'm going to read one section word for word. This is one of my favorite parts in the plan. Cities that weave arts and culture into the fabric of daily life become a destination for visitors. They drive economic prosperity, become regional focal points, but most importantly, bloom into a springboard of imagination and a creative home for their residents. As you look through the plan, the first page talks about community attachment and community connectedness. Research shows that community connectedness brings economic growth and well-being. Residents establish a connection and commitment to where they live. It's an emotional function that drives behavior, the sense of belonging, and the confidence that a person can make an impact and find support in their community. These feelings fuse people to a place and to each other. And when people feel connected, they engage to make a better place. So what does this look like? It looks like volunteering, voting, attending community events. It's a personal investment in problem solving and a collaborative work effort. So we invite you to move forward with us. Together, take part in Marshalltown. The creative community is who we are, how we work and play, and what we love. And we believe that all of us are the creative community. When you go through the plan, you'll see potential partners are listed. These are partners that just have a natural fit with some of the ideas in the plan. We couldn't list everyone, so you'll notice at the end of every single one it says, and you, because we intentionally want this plan to feel like it is a plan of the community. When people are reading through this plan, we want them to put on their personal hats, their business hats, their organizational hats, and see where they fit and have ownership and buy-in in helping us implement this plan together. Because making a vibrant and welcoming Marshalltown alive with authentic cultural opportunities and arts will take all of us. This process was shaped and improved by the diverse voices and distinct perspectives of Marshalltown residents. We hired a consultant to do an extensive community engagement process that reflected the richness of Marshalltown in our community. They conducted 14 interviews, 7 focus groups. Those focus groups included arts and culture organizations, leaders, artists. We did one specifically with our Latino community and our Burmese community, along with several others. And we offered a survey in 21 languages that matched the same languages offered or that are spoken within the Marshalltown Community School District. From those conversations and community input, with the guidance of the steering committee, 5 placemaking themes were established: revitalize over restore, build bridges, activate hope, elevate youth, and heritage of innovation. So if you're wondering, what is creative placemaking? Creative placemaking integrates arts, culture, and design activities into efforts that strengthen communities. What does this look like? It creates a place where people want to go and linger. Successful places attract people beyond those who are required to be there. Creative places draw people and businesses want to be there. As a place becomes more active, commerce is likely to respond, thus giving people even more reasons to attend. Fostering connections among people and across cultures, and it creates interesting places that capitalize on distinctiveness. A creative approach improves the aesthetics of a place, whether it's the look, feel, or sound, and a place that expresses its distinctiveness rather than sameness is more likely to have a long-term appeal. So the first theme, revitalize over restore, essentially boiling down to beauty matters. Marshalltown is in a very unique situation thanks to several natural disasters, and we believe that out of devastation comes an incredible opportunity for revitalization, reinvigoration, and reimagination of what was and what can be. We want to create a culturally vibrant and welcoming community. We want to spark spontaneous connections, energize unused spaces, and we know that first impressions matter. And we want to prioritize quality over quantity so that we can showcase that vibrancy matters. Building bridges. Some of these bridges are structural. Bike paths, pedestrian connections, parking, but some of these are metaphorical. We want to invest in new and unique, authentic signature events. We want to uplift informal leaders, and we want to cultivate welcoming spaces that nurture neighborhood-specific projects, arts initiatives that are participatory and promote positive community connections. Activate hope. We heard a lot in our community engagement from community members that amongst 2020 and 2021, when COVID was at its highest and we were recovering immediately after the derecho, that the murals that were going up in our community were activating a sense of hope and pride that they hadn't felt in a while. We want to activate this hope through a shared sense, and it's critical in allowing imagination and possibilities to flourish. We want to celebrate the small things, the medium things, and the big things. We want to provide opportunities for our community to come together and activate that hope to instill a sense of community pride. Elevate youth. Pretty obvious. We want to empower our future generation. We want to bring young people into leadership circles, give them a seat at the table, value their voices, and equip them with the tools and resources they need to fulfill their visions. We know that the future generation of Marshalltown are our youth, and how do we empower them to feel part of community connectedness and community engagement? And finally, heritage of innovation. We also know that engineers and manufacturers that chose Marshalltown as a home for their companies naturally established a local culture of innovation. We want to continue to amplify and elevate this while also yielding new approaches to public interaction. At the end of the plan, you'll also recognize or notice a piece that's specific on the Arts and Culture Alliance. We wanted to make you aware that at the same time that the master planning process was taking place, the Arts and Culture Alliance was going through strategic planning to ensure that we were in a position to successfully implement this plan. We also wanted to ensure that our mission and vision and functions and the addition of 5 value statements aligned with what we heard from the community. This is our number one priority, is implementing this plan. Making what matters in Marshalltown will take all of us. Making a vibrant and welcoming Marshalltown alive with arts and authentic cultural opportunities, it'll take everybody. And a community that dreams together grows together. So we invite you to take part with us. I'm going to invite one of the co-chairs, John Hall, up to speak on behalf of the Chamber. And he's the CEO and President of the Marshalltown Area Chamber of Commerce.
Thank you, Amber. John Hall with the Marshalltown Area Chamber of Commerce. On behalf of Deb Borton and myself, the 2 co-chairs for this plan, we want to first thank Amber for her incredible leadership on this plan. I think you all just saw what an incredible leader she is, being articulate and thoughtful about the approach that we have brought to this plan. And I really want to laud her and the consultants for the incredible outreach and incredible participation that we were able to witness as part of this plan that really brought together those 5 themes that are indicative of the feedback, the thoughts, and the progress that our community has an opportunity to make over the next 10 years. And then I wanted to speak on behalf of the Marshalltown Area Chamber of Commerce. Our board of directors had an opportunity to review this plan at our board meeting a few weeks back and saw unanimous approval of this plan as really a roadmap and a lens with which we should be viewing and tackling projects and challenges in our communities, understanding that vibrancy matters not only to community development, but also bringing that creative approach will positively impact our business environment as well. You know, we know that the workforce challenges, attracting and retaining an incredible workforce matters to our community, to our business community, and things like these within this master plan are absolutely avenues for helping us win those arguments, those battles, and those wars that we're going to face with regards to workforce. And we know that businesses want to be in places where community arts, community culture, community aesthetics matter. And so our board sought to approve this, adopt this as part of the lens that we're going to view projects and opportunities through. And so tonight, I'll echo Amber's ask for you guys to not only approve and adopt this plan, but really to be thoughtful in approaches as we continue to navigate challenges for our community, challenges that we don't yet know unforeseen, to continue using this as a lens with which to approach and tackle those challenges. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Are there any questions or comments from the councilors?
Your Honor, if I may,
Yes, you may.
thank you, guys. Thank all of you. So, and I invite you to stay for the rest of the meeting instead of doing, instead of the mass exodus you're all gonna make after this is over. But no, it's obvious a lot of work went into this, so hopefully we can help you on your path. So I really appreciate it. Thank you. Thanks, Your Honor.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Your Honor.
Yes.
So, as you mentioned, Amber being recognized at the state level shows the impact that she's had on this community in a relatively informal way. So I hope you can all support the adoption of this master plan. I think it codifies the impact that's already been done, but then shows the potential and the recognition of what can be done in the future as well.
Thank you. Anyone else? Anyone from the public like to make a comment?
I will go. Neil Dalal, 1504 Brentwood Terrace. I was also part of the Master Plan Steering Committee and Alliance Board member. So first of all, thank you to the council for contributing and supporting the development of the master plan as we researched community members and understood what they would like to see in Marshalltown moving forward. It's been a great process because there was a lot of focus groups and surveys, and this master plan has a broad representation, a lot of voices, and it helps to build those bridges and a deeper connection through everybody in this community. So we really like that. And then, in my opinion, I think the Alliance is a leading nonprofit in Marshalltown, done great work like you guys mentioned, and the dedication and passion and champion that Amber's been as a change maker. It's not gone unnoticed, as you guys said. She's the 2023 Governor's Art recipient for Emerging Arts Leader. So it's been recognized at the state level through the governor, but then also in December 2022 at the Iowa Arts Council, there's also a breakout session on the work Amber's done as a transformation for the community. So it was lifted up to others in the Iowa that are doing the same thing to show what great work she's done and what Marshalltown supports. So, again, thank you for supporting this and supporting the path to more arts and culture. Thank you.
Thank you.
Jesus Rios, 810 South 9th Avenue. So I moved here from Mexico, Durango, Mexico, when I was 8 years old. I'm 28 years old now, even though I got a little gray in my beard. I'm still in my 20s. But I was part of the Arts and Culture Master Plan, and now I sit on the board. Ember had reached out to me. So I have quite a bit of history here in Marshalltown with Emerson and myself. So I started there when I was 16. I didn't really know what I was wanting to do, but then through getting engaged with the employees, I quickly realized that I wanted to do engineering. After I graduated high school, went to community college here, worked as a drafter for 3.5 years, and then I made my way over to Iowa State University. This was made possible through such programs like we're proposing today. I was part of different after-school programs and Big Brothers and Big Sisters as well, growing up. So making connections that allowed other people to instill hope in me that I could do other things right. Once I was getting ready to graduate, I did not want to come back to Marshalltown. I wanted to go out and see what the rest of the world had to offer, but very quickly I got reached out once I was getting ready to graduate Iowa State. Got reached out by old colleagues and friends, and they said, "Hey, why don't you come back to Emerson?" Right? I went to school for industrial engineering, and I got a minor in sales engineering. So I was really interested in the sales engineering aspect of things, and that I never even working here for 7.5 years at Emerson, never even realized that was a department. So I came back, but one emphasis that when I came back, I wanted to be involved and have representation of the Latino community in the community that I was going to work at. So I'm slowly getting involved and doing those things. But like I said, if it wasn't for such programs when I was growing up, like the one we're proposing here today, I don't think I would have done the things that I'm doing and that I'm have the opportunity to call Marshalltown home because of those programs. So that's all I'd like to say.
Thank you, Jesus. Anyone else? Anything else from the council? Okay. Let's call roll.
Kell,
Yes.
Lottie Hoff,
Yes.
Schneider,
Yes.
Thompson,
Yes.
Walker,
Yes.
Hoop,
Yes.
Thank you. And no matter what Gary says, if you do have a busy schedule, it doesn't hurt our feelings if you leave. It might hurt Gary's feelings a little, but that's okay. Okay, moving on to public hearing.
Public hearing and resolution 2023-41, providing for the conveyance and transfer of title for 519 South Fifth Street from the city of Marshalltown, Iowa to Jesus and Brenda Villa.
Okay, I declare the public hearing open at 6:03 PM. Do we have any written comments?
No, Your Honor.
Do we have any public comments on this item? We have staff review?
Yes, this is one of the properties we put out for a competitive bid, and the winning bid was $7,501.
Okay, do we have any council comments on this? Okay, I'm going to declare the public hearing closed and move on to the resolution. I'm looking for a motion.
One motion to approve, Your Honor.
Have a motion?
Second.
I have a motion, and a second. Any other comments? Roll call.
Hoop,
Yes.
Kell,
Yes.
Lottie Hoff,
Yes.
Schneider,
Yes.
Thompson,
Yes.
Walker,
Yes.
Thank you. The next item.
Public hearing and resolution 2023-42, providing for the conveyance and transfer of title for 4 North 12th Avenue from the city of Marshalltown, Iowa to LIF Enterprises LLC.
Okay, I declare the public hearing open at 6:04 PM. Do we have any written comments?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. Do we have any public comments on this? Hearing none, can we have the staff review?
Yes, this was part of a competitive bid process, and the winning bid was $3,100.
Okay. Do we have any council comments? Hearing none, I declare the public hearing closed at 6:04 PM. I would entertain a motion.
I move to approve.
Have a
Second,
motion.
Your Honor.
I have a motion and a second. Any other comments? Roll call, please.
Thompson,
Yes.
Walker,
Yes.
Hoop,
Yes.
Kell,
Yes.
Lottie
Yes.
Schneider.
Yes.
Okay, moving on to the next item.
Public hearing and resolution 2023-43, providing for the conveyance and transfer of title for 500 Lee Street from the city of Marshalltown, Iowa to Levis Nadihai Cabello.
Okay, I'm going to declare the public hearing open at 6:05 PM. Do we have any written comments?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. Would anyone like to make any public comments? Okay, staff review.
Yes, this was part of a competitive bid process, and the winning bid was $501.
Okay, any council comments? Hearing none, I could declare the public hearing closed at 6:05 PM. I'd entertain a motion.
I'd motion to approve, Your Honor.
Second, Your Honor, for Levis.
Have a motion and a second. Any other comments? Roll call, please.
Walker,
Yes.
Hoop,
Yes.
Kell,
Yes.
Lottie
Yes.
Schneider,
Yes.
Thompson.
Yes.
Moving on to ordinances.
Ordinance 15057 to amend Chapter 152 Housing Code of the Municipal Code of the City of Marshalltown, Iowa, first reading.
Here, a motion to approve.
Motion to approve,
Second.
Your Honor.
Have a motion to approve and second.
Okay, thank you. Michelle Sponheimer, Housing Community Development Director. As you may recall, just recently we did adopt new Chapter 152, our housing code, which addresses our rental housing standards. As part of that, as we are implementing that in these first few months, kind of came to our attention how we address mobile home parks. And mobile home parks are kind of unique in that they typically are kind of a lease to purchase situation for many of the homes. You're paying lot rent. Occasionally people are renting for a period of time, but not in the same way that we see our long-term rentals happen. And so they're, after some conversations with Sunset Village, they're related to how we were trying to manage those and the challenges that we were seeing due to the very transitional nature of those homes. We are recommending that we exclude mobile home parks from our rental inspection enforcement. We did consult with Safe Building LLC. They're a firm that we're contracted with to do our inspections. They confirmed that they don't do mobile home parks in any of the other communities that they currently do inspections for either. So that's kind of a natural thing that we see with communities. We have 3 mobile home parks here in Marshalltown, 2 on High Street, which are very small and don't have any rentals that I'm aware of, and then Sunset Village, which is our largest park in town that periodically has rentals, but like I said, they are oftentimes on a shorter term period, as they're often leased to purchase situations.
Okay.
So I'd recommend that, and also recommend consideration of waiving the second and third reading if council is open for that, so that we can just kind of solidify that, and so that we don't have the ambiguity of reporting or not and how to deal with those.
Okay.
Entertaining questions.
Councilman Walker, does your motion to approve also include waiving the second and third reading?
We have to do them as separate items. The first reading has to be approved before you can take action on the
Okay.
second and third.
Okay. Does anyone have any questions for Michelle?
Your Honor, if I may.
Yes, you may.
Michelle, does our current zoning plan allow for another mobile home park to come into the city limits?
I believe yes. There are a lot of different standards related to mobile home parks and new creation and making sure, things like addressing addressing and water supply and all those kind of things. So seeing the density perhaps that we have in Kerwin's may not be exactly the case with a new park, but I believe that it is still an option.
Okay, then what, if we stop inspecting rentals, what's going to stop one of the existing three to eventually transitioning into 100% rentals and turning it into a slum?
I don't know that if we, well, certainly we can always come back and revisit this if it becomes an issue. I don't think that them being rental versus owner units is necessarily going to transition that. And I don't know if Julie is here or not. Wasn't sure if the manager from Sunset Village was going to be able to be present, but they have their own contracts that they're enforcing within their units in their parks, and so they have a lot of enforcement that they can put on themselves to keep things from happening. We can still address nuisances within the park. This is only excluding them from the rental inspection. So if there are ongoing nuisance or other issues that we have concerns about, those kinds of laws still apply to the park. So it doesn't exclude them from every kind of enforcement under the city. It would just be that rental inspection.
I appreciate, your concern, but for me, it's not a direction I think that I want to go with the city, especially all the things we're trying to move forward with and make Marshtown better. I can't support this at all. I'm sorry. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. Any other questions from council? Any questions or comments from the public? Okay, we have a motion and a second. Roll call.
Kell,
Yes.
Bodyhoff,
Yes.
Schneider,
Yes.
Thompson,
No.
Walker,
Yes.
Hoop,
Yes.
Okay,
Your Honor, I'd like to make the motion to waive the second and third readings.
okay. Do I
I'll
have a
second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second to waive the second and third reading. Roll call, please.
Bodyhoff,
Yes.
Schneider,
Yes.
Thompson,
No.
Walker,
Yes.
Hoop,
Yes.
Kell,
Yes.
Motion carried. Okay. Moving on to number 2.
Ordinance 15058 to amend the Code of Ordinances, City of Marshalltown, Iowa by amending Chapter 76 Traffic Schedules, Schedule Number 8, Speed Limits, first reading.
Do I have a motion for approval?
So moved, Your Honor.
Have a motion. Do I have a second?
I second.
A motion and a second. Go ahead.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Heather Thomas, Public Works. Tonight, for discussion and the first reading is potential changes to the Lincoln Way area in relation to speed. Many conversations have happened over the last several months regarding automated traffic enforcement, and this is one of the segments that a fixed automated traffic enforcement is proposed to go. That location is proposed to be right along the intersection of Orchard Drive. Today, out there is also that same location where we currently switch from 45 to 35 mile an hour. Because of the location that an automated traffic enforcement device needs to be located, as far as having straightaways in front and behind, we don't want to have a speed change at that same location of an automated traffic enforcement device. So that has stirred a little bit of the discussion on this item. In addition to that, this last year, Lincoln Way was a segment of roadway that had been in discussion for evaluation in regards to speed limits in that area. Specifically, the section that was being discussed was that curve right there at Brentwood Road and Lincoln Tower Drive. That curve today has a design speed of 35, and it's also posted at 35 mile an hour. In engineering practices and standards for roadway design, it's common practice to have a 5 mile an hour buffer. So you would post 5 mile an hour less than the design speed, but it does have provisions to allow for them to be equal. And that's how the city of Marshalltown has operated for years. Because of these two things kind of coinciding from a timing perspective, we wanted to evaluate the section all the way from the western city limits all the way to South 12th Street. So our proposal and our recommendation is to adjust the speed limits as follows. Currently, we start and adjust to 45 mile an hour at the western limits. We would leave that alone. At the intersection of Highland Acres Road, we would drop from 45 to 40. At the intersection of Ann Rutledge Road, in fact, it's a little bit west of that intersection, just from a visibility standpoint, we would drop from 40 to 30 mile an hour. That would get us down to 30 mile an hour ahead of that curve that we're concerned about. Because of the location of the proposed automated traffic enforcement, that is why we're bringing that so far back. We want to make sure there's plenty of time for everybody to get slowed down to that speed before you would get into an enforcement situation. With that, I know it's a controversial topic, but I'm happy to open it up and answer any questions.
Heather, what we're trying to do is basically help people not get caught in between big speed changes, correct?
That's absolutely correct.
And then we could be accused of poaching or...
Right. We want to be very transparent. I'm really concerned about the safety aspect of it with that curve. And I know there's speed tickets and everything that needs to be factored in. And that is why you're seeing that 30 mile taken so far back to the west, is we want to make sure that everybody has ample opportunity and then there's no change anywhere near that location.
Thank you.
Your Honor?
Yes.
I think one of the things that is also really applicable to this conversation, Heather, and I invite you to provide any comments that you'd like to on this issue, is when you get out past, the Mexican restaurant and you get going towards Brentwood Road, the condition of that portion of the road is absolutely horrible. And one of the main complaints that I get as a third ward councilman relates to the high volume of large trucks that make their way out Lincoln Way so they can dump their loads at the city landfill. And so when you have that horrible condition of the road, a little bit of a 35 mile an hour speed limit, which, I don't think is too fast, but the road's in poor condition and the trucks are big and they have sometimes, although we do provide lots of education on covering up your loads, things will bounce out of there. That's the immediate reason why I can justify why we might need to slow things down over there. However, the long-term fix that we need to be moving on as quickly as we possibly can is replacing and starting at that Brentwood turn, because it's getting worse. And there's actually some guys that live over at Lincoln Towers, great guys, invited me over to see it with them. They'll sit out there in their lawn chairs and count how many times trucks will go by and be bouncing bolts out of the beds of their trucks. So it's anecdotal, but it's important to this conversation, in my opinion. So thanks, Heather.
Councilmember Walker, just so you know, we completely agree. We're aware of some issues out there. Later this spring, you guys will be in front of you. A plan for a patch in that transition area will be coming out and going out to bid later this spring for that area.
Thank you. Other comments?
Your Honor?
Yes.
I spoke to some homeowners in this area along Lincoln Way, and the resounding sentiment was a speed change was needed long ago. So absent any of the ATE conversation, that this was a very welcomed change for their neighborhood and safety.
Thank you.
Your Honor, if I may.
Yes, you may.
I don't want Chief Tupper to hear this, but in a conversation with Heather earlier, I told her once I get past Lincoln Towers, I thought it was 45, and I was jumping on that. So, and I can welcome a speed change, whatever you suggest. I will back that, but not in conjunction with the automated traffic enforcement going in there. I think this just looks like what you had said earlier, Your Honor, about poaching. We're changing a speed limit, then putting in the automatic traffic control device. I'll support the speed limit change, but let's just move the ATE to a different location. Let's not do them both in the same area. So, thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. Do we have anyone from the public that would like to make a comment?
Yeah, I've driven this road.
Come up to the microphone.
Yeah, Jim Shaw, 522 North Fifth Street. I've driven this stretch of road. I used to live down on South 12th Street. And if you're going down that hill, you're going to ride your brakes all the way down the hill. Because at the bottom of the hill, you're going to gain 5 to 6 to 7 mile an hour. So I just want you to be aware, if you're going to post a speed limit thing up there, people are going to be riding their brakes all the way down the hill. You got to stay at the limit. That's all.
Thank you, Jim. Any other comments from the public?
Lyle Heineman, 2804 Arnold Drive. I guess I'm okay with putting a camera there, but I'm not okay with changing the speed limit. But if you want to change the speed limit and not put a camera there, I would be okay with that. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have anyone else like to make a comment?
Your Honor, I do have a follow-up question for Heather, if I may.
Go ahead.
Heather, if this gets voted through tonight, how many signs, I mean, are there going to be multiple signs so everybody understands this? Or is it just one sign and you see it, you don't?
No, we would have multiple signs. When we went out and looked through this segment, one of the things we looked at is things like, are people and residents able to turn around in the driveways, pull out ahead? What sight distance do they have? And the sight and stopping distances were really impacted by vegetation and those kind of things. So we're going to get that cleaned up in addition to adding additional signage so that there's better visibility. Right there on the west side of Highland Acres Road is where that switch would be between 45 and 40. There's actually a speed limit sign on the north side of the road there. Right across from there is where we do that switch. But for those that are coming up Highland Acres Road and turning right, we want to make sure they also have a 40-mile-an-hour sign. So there's an engine brake enforcement sign there that would be also another redundant 40-mile-an-hour sign. Then there'd also be additional signs and probably 2 before you would get to the proposed location of that automated traffic enforcement.
Thank you, Heather. And then, Your Honor, is there someone here from the committee with the AT? Can we, I mean, is that for a different time? Am I out of order that we can talk about that automatic traffic enforcement device doesn't have to go on Lincoln Way? Or is that already set in stone?
Chief Tupper.
Excuse me, Mike Tupper, Marshalltown Police Department. So, the committee's been working on this for quite a while now, and our fixed sites, pretty close to being set in stone. And I would just like, I've been your police chief now for pushing 12 years. This particular road has been something that's been brought up to me frequently about speed. In fact, I remember distinctly when I was applying for this job, and I was meeting people from the public in this room. Several people brought up speed on Lincoln Way and wanting to see the speed reduced and talking about the problem that is created by high speeds on that road. And it's very difficult. The reason this was a site picked for ATE is because it's very difficult for our police officers to conduct speed enforcement because there's really not much of a shoulder on the road and there's not any real solid spots for the police officers to park to conduct those enforcement operations. So that's why this was chosen, and people that I've talked to in this neighborhood have been asking for a reduction in speed limit for many, many years, longer than I've lived in Marshalltown. So we work for you. If you want us to change something, we can change something, but we put a lot of time and effort into picking our fixed sites, and this was a high priority for us because of all the complaints. And we also had a motor vehicle fatality in this area within the last year that speed contributed to. Thank you.
Chief.
Thank you.
Your Honor, I would just say proper procedure, because ATE is not on the agenda, would be that it would come to a different council meeting for further discussion.
Great. Yes.
Linda Clark, 306 South 2nd Avenue, and I have lived in the city of Marshalltown now 73 years. I remember when there was a very serious accident out there at Highland Acre Road. Myself, I would rather have it just be a uniform speed. That's about the city limits. Let's put it down to 35 miles an hour all the way through, both going in and out. The trucks have to do 35 miles an hour. And I really haven't been in favor of the speed cameras, and I have voiced about that. But we need to have our speed uniform like it was. And 35 miles an hour from that stretch from Highland Acre Road all the way down would be fine with me, but I'm not in favor of the cameras.
Thank you, Linda. I know when I take loads out to the landfill, I do the speed limit and I about get run over. I mean, it's a very, very busy, especially on Saturdays when everybody's trying to get to the landfill, along with the local haulers. So I'm in favor of this. I think it's a good idea. So we have a motion and a second. Okay, anyone else have any comments? Councilors? Public? Okay. Let's call roll.
Hoop,
Yes.
Kell,
Yes.
Lottie Huff,
Yes.
Schneider,
Yes.
Thompson,
Yes.
Walker,
Yes.
Ordinance 15059 to amend the Code of Ordinances, City of Marshalltown, Iowa by amending Chapter 77 Parking Schedules, Schedule 2, No Parking Anytime, first reading.
Motion to approve, Your Honor.
Thank you. Have a motion?
I'll second.
Have a second?
Good evening, Heather Thomas, Public Works. This one's less controversial, and I think will be pretty quick. We had an officer, a sergeant with the police department, bring up to me a question about some parking that was happening over in the Swayze Street area between 10th and 12th Avenue. As I went into our ordinance to review what our ordinance stated and what signs were out in the field, we found a discrepancy. So out in the field today, we currently have no parking signs on both sides of the road between 10th and 11th Ave. And our ordinance only allowed it on the south side of the road in that stretch. In addition, the parking lot expansion that occurred just west of 12th Ave between Swayze and Marion, that changed some of the parking needs in that area. At this time, the large employer in that area, JBS, is able to accommodate their staff members in that parking lot, and that on-street parking is not necessary. So we are recommending a change in the ordinance of no parking allowed on both sides of the street from 10th to 12th on Swayze Street, and that's our recommendation tonight.
Thank you. Anyone have any questions for Heather? Anyone from the public have any questions or comments? Let's have roll call.
Walker,
Yes.
Hoop,
Yes.
Kell,
Yes.
Lottie Huff,
Yes.
Schneider,
Yes.
Thompson,
Yes. Your Honor, I would move that we waive the second and third readings of this one. And once this gets, if it passes, once this gets published and the sign's posted, we can get moving on this as fast as possible.
Okay, I have a motion on the floor.
Second.
I have a motion and second. Any questions or comments? Anything from the public? Roll call.
Kell,
Yes.
Lottie Huff,
Yes.
Schneider,
Yes.
Thompson,
Yes.
Walker,
Yes.
Hoop,
Yes.
Okay. We're moving on to discussion items. The discussion item is age restrictions for paint purchase or use. Now, lately, Gary's van has been vandalized, but that's not why I brought it up. I've had some people talking about, what can we do about graffiti in town? And it's turned into somewhat of a problem. We have, fully aware that most people would never think of doing something like taking spray paint or their kids. What I'm hoping that we can do is get a community-wide discussion going, having parents talk to their kids, that type of thing. Graffiti as a whole makes our town look somewhat tacky. We do, as a city, require that if you have graffiti sprayed on your properties, that you get it removed or paint over it within just a few days. And that seems to be a little bit one-sided, in my opinion. I did some research into what other towns are doing, because really, it's really tough unless the police catch them doing it. There's not a lot we can do. So I did note that several cities have gone to, some went to banning spray paint sales whatsoever, and this does not do that. What the idea is, and I'm not in love with it, is it would ban the sale of spray paint to minors unless they're accompanied by an adult. It would ban the possession of spray paint over 6 ounces, I believe is one of the suggestions, for possession of any minor. So they can't even really be carrying it around. Most cities that I looked into, they find really heavy for people doing this. It's not a step that I take lightly, but we're talking about cleaning up our town. We're talking about, we just had the Arts and Culture Master Plan, and this is not art by any stretch of the imagination. I'm looking to give the police a tool to be able to use that maybe we can crack down on this type of thing. And it costs this community thousands of dollars every year just to clean it up. So I'm open to suggestions. I'd like to hear some comments from council or ideas on how we can do this type of thing. With that, I'll open up the floor.
Your Honor?
Yes.
I'm not for the ban, completely against it, actually. I just think it's such a liquid asset. You could go to Ames or anywhere else and get it. I just don't think it's going to prevent anything. I am fine with increased penalties, so I'd be in support of that for sure.
Okay. Gary?
Your Honor.
Yes.
I get what you're trying to do. I really do. And I don't know what the answer is. I mean, if anybody wants to clean the rest of the graffiti off my van, they're welcome to come over. It's not finished yet. It hit home with me, obviously. I don't think this is the direction to go. I just think we're gonna have trouble enforcing this. We're gonna start stopping people walking down the street and searching their bags, and I think the police have better things to do than this one. I think this is another ordinance that we can enforce, or, it'll be hard to enforce. I guess the approach I'd like to see is, just like we do the facade grants and the code upgrades, let's use some of the local option sales tax to start a program that if a residential owner wants to put in cameras, we'll help foot that bill. If a business wants to put in cameras, we'll help foot that bill at a different level. Because I think the businesses downtown are seeing more graffiti. They seem to be more susceptible to it than residential. Not playing down what's happening in the residential neighborhoods, but I don't know what the root cause solution is to this one. I'd be more in favor of more cameras than I would be in banning the sale of spray paint. So, thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. I think I said before I couldn't believe that anything could make your van look worse, but it actually did. Go ahead. Yeah.
Do we have any data on the number of these types of incidents that are going on, and these types being graffiti, vandalism by spray paint? And because, I've lived in Marshalltown most of my life, and it's always been a trend with certain groups of people that when they want to be destructive, that's how they do it. So I just don't know. Is it honest question? Is it genuinely worse out there or not? Chief Tupper, do you know?
Mike Tupper, Marshalltown Police Department. So the graffiti issue kind of ebbs and flows for us over the years. And so the problem for us, and I've been sharing here the last 2 or 3 weeks with your weekly update reports I sent to you, we've only been receiving about one a week, but a lot of them just aren't reported to us. People just do not report them to us. So we don't know. I would tell you that my sense is that over the last year, it's been a little bit worse than in past years. But it's an issue that ebbs and flows, and I suspect that there's a small group of people, maybe just 1 or 2 individuals that are our problems, and eventually we're going to catch them. I promise you. We're working on that. But I wouldn't describe this as something that's keeping me up at night. It's not our worst issue that we're dealing with. Now, I do have a couple things I'd like to share. I have learned and found, and this kind of surprised me, but Amber was this year talking about public art. The more public art communities have, the less graffiti they tend to see. The more murals we put up on walls, the less graffiti you tend to see, because these graffiti artists aren't tagging the murals on walls generally. So that's something I think we should encourage. I did reach out to some police departments in Iowa about, because there were 3, I think, listed in Jessica's memo about ordinances in Iowa. The Muscatine, the just retired Muscatine chief told me that it does work. It has helped them. It's been a useful tool for law enforcement. Just another tool in their toolbox that they can use. And the Sioux City chief also said it's been a useful tool for them when they're dealing with graffiti issues. And they both said that in their communities it kind of ebbs and flows, right? Now, the Sioux City chief also said it was a tool that they use, and I hadn't thought of this, but it's actually a good idea, a tool that they use to deal with young people that sometimes want to huff paint. The huffing of spray paint is a thing, and we don't encounter it very often, but it would be a tool that we could use to deal with that, and that's actually a very dangerous thing for young people to do. So when Mike first brought up this ordinance to me, I wasn't sure what to think, to be honest with you, but I often come before you to ask for tools in our tool belt, and I think that this is an ordinance that we probably wouldn't often enforce, but it does give us a tool to use when we can't actually, when we suspect somebody's involved with something, but we can't pin the graffiti on them, if you know what I'm saying. So it gives us something that we can use. So I'm actually in favor. After hearing from the Sioux City chief and the Muscatine chief, I think it could be a helpful tool for us. So be happy to answer questions. I would encourage the public, for the people watching and TR's here, I would encourage you to file police reports. That's what you pay us to do, is take police reports. It would help us determine trends. It would help us perhaps catch the people that are involved if people would report these crimes when they occur. Thank you.
Thank you. I do know one of the articles that I read, like any bad habit that someone does, young adults especially, is that the more you do something, the more it turns into a habit, and just not a one-time thing. And the more of a habit it becomes, that's just what you do. As I said, I'm not in love with this. I do not. Thank you, Chief Tupper, for looking into that. And it is effective. I know that the Nicholson Ford OHV area gets hit really hard, a lot. They have gone to painting anti-graffiti paint on the buildings, and they can power wash the buildings off. But the paint costs hundreds of dollars a gallon. for them to be able to do that, along with the lift station that's back by Lynn Creek off of 18th Avenue. I know several people's fences have been nailed. Along Alliance seems to have quite a fan in graffiti artists. So in bringing this up, I wanted to bring it up for a discussion as something for us to all think about. Is it worth doing? Apparently it does work, but are we willing to go with that? With that, what would the council like to do?
It's the right conversation to be having. You mentioned out east on the trail. It's no different out west on the trail. And as we try to draw more people into the community and such. So it's evident throughout the community. It's something that we need to discuss and form a strategy better than hope. Because right now we're kind of hoping it stops, and it's not. But what that final outcome is, I don't know. But I appreciate you bringing this up, and I think there needs to be more discussion on it.
It does put somewhat of a onus on business owners in town that sell spray paint. One of the ordinances that was brought up, you would have to put a sign up by your spray paint saying that we don't sell spray paint to over 6 ounces to kids or under minors, unless you have an adult with you. Minors would still be able to use spray paint. They just have to have an adult with them. So they'd also have to be IDing people at checkouts. And there's fines for businesses that let that slide. So it's a pretty heavy hammer if we want to do this.
Your Honor.
You know, it depends on how we want to handle this, because this does need to be handled. But
Sure. Well, when I was saying spray paint's too liquid, I mean it's a liquid commodity. You can get it anywhere. I mean, what's stopping from somebody with a debit card going on Amazon ordering spray paint? I just don't know that we can stop people in a modern economy with this kind of tactic. And Chief Tupper, sorry you sat down. Do you send your detectives to, the usual stores where people would buy spray paint and ask, have you seen anybody suspicious buying black spray paint or whatever the color of the day is?
We have not, no. That's more of a personnel resource issue. I mean, we respond to 800 calls a week, so we haven't done that. We are exploring other strategies, though, in terms of using cameras and other surveillance equipment to try to catch who's ever responsible. And that's why we need people to report these crimes. I know a lot of times people think it's just a petty crime. I'm not going to bother the police. You're not bothering us. You're paying us to do that job, and we need you to call us. So, but we haven't done that.
Maybe a future discussion item, Jessica, could be an update on the non-traffic enforcement cameras. It's been a while since we've talked about that, I think.
Yeah, the committee just met last week, actually, to discuss next steps for spending that money. And they're coming up with a plan to do that. I think that's going to be helpful, too. And as you know, I'm a big fan of cameras. The police department strongly supports that program. I think, and we appreciate the money that you've invested in those projects. But we have a long ways to go before we have our community adequately covered in terms of public safety cameras.
thank you.
Thank you.
Does anyone from the public have any comments on this?
Linda Clark, 306 South 2nd Avenue. And I have voiced my opinion about selective enforcement. And I do agree that the police department has a lot of things to be doing. And this is going to be something, once again, that's not going to be enforceable. I was backing out of my own driveway and a police officer motioned me to come onto the road. He was looking for graffiti. They're very well aware of where the graffiti is around in Marshalltown. We have ordinances that need to be enforced, and this isn't going to serve the problem. We've got 64 languages in this city, and people don't understand. I have been down in Family Dollar, And there are so many different conversations going on in there. I don't think people are going to even understand. There is no respect anymore. And I think that's the problem. And you're not going to make an ordinance to make people be using common sense and doing what is right. And this isn't going to work because they can get paint anywhere. I've seen them even spray right in Family Dollar on 3rd Avenue, just checking to see if it works.
Thank you, Linda. I don't see a whole lot of nodding to go ahead with this. But I think it's good that we had a good discussion about it. We may come, I'm not going to push the issue or go for a vote. I think I'd probably get pretty beat up. But I think we need to look for answers on this. We can't do nothing. If we do nothing, nothing will get done. And if anyone has any ideas, please bring them forward. Get a hold of the council people, city administrator, the police chief, and make sure that you report any graffiti that you get. They need to know how bad the problem is. So,
Mike, can I?
yes.
So just to wrap up my comments, I guess, I want to remind everybody about Marshall County Crime Stoppers. That's still a program in our community that we would encourage people to make use of. You can call Crime Stoppers or text Crime Stoppers, and all that information is on our website, and you can do so anonymously. And you may get yourself a reward if we're able to make an arrest based on information that you provide. And then I would just, again, plead to everybody to report these crimes. A lot of folks in our community have Ring cameras and other cameras on their property, and if a crime is reported in a neighborhood, we routinely knock on doors to try to see if anybody saw anything or might have a video of something happening or, people coming and going. So we are concerned about this issue, and we continue to work on it, and we ask the public to help us out by just reporting these crimes. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Okay. Unless there's a motion, we'll move on to the sale of vacant lots.
Yes, Your Honor. I just want to bring up kind of the memo here. There's kind of two pieces to it, two parts to it, involving 4 different properties. The first would be 503 Woodbury and 503 Brumley. Those are 2 properties that we have had either as a result of a tax sale, or acquiring a tax certificate, or through 657A. Where we did a demolition. We did put 503 Woodbury Street out for bid on a request for a proposal for a neighborhood improvement project, which I'll talk more about the next one. So I'm not recommending that we do that again. I'm recommending that we issue a request for sealed bids and see if we can get some bidders on these property and award it to the highest bidder.
Does anyone have any questions for Jessica?
I would like a motion in a second to proceed with that process, as if that's what's directed, I'll do so.
Your Honor, I'd make that motion to direct this
Okay,
in
I
the
have a
memo.
motion.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any, we don't take any count. We do? Does anyone from the public have any comment? Hearing none. I have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Hoop? Kell?
Yes.
Lottiehoff?
Yes.
Schneider?
Yes.
Thompson?
Yes.
Walker?
Yes.
Okay.
Part 2 of this first item for the sale of lots is looking then at 2 other properties where we have either some interest and have a possibility to look at seeing something more than maybe just a garage or an extension of a yard. And so I'll start with 906 South 11th Avenue. That was a tax certificate that was held by the county, and we ultimately requested it at the request of a neighbor. He would like, at this time, he would like to build an accessory building and has worked with planning and zoning to figure out that that could be a 426 square foot accessory building. And so that's where I'm proposing we would use the neighborhood improvement RFP, which would require anybody purchasing that lot to either build a house or to build an accessory building, if he were to be the purchaser. BPW Park, 407 Marion Street, we just decommissioned that one. And as we were looking at what does it make sense to do with this one, you can see the graphic there showing that there are some significant areas where you could not be building over a sanitary or storm sewer line, but the rear of the property does become quite usable, and that we would like to put this one out for a neighborhood improvement RFP for a duplex or a triplex type of property, as there's a buildable area of 127 feet by 196 feet that would be available. And so that process would require somebody to commit to putting something on the property within a 2-year period of time. And then if they did not do that in a 2-year period, that's where things would revert back to us. So there would be some monitoring there, or it'd be the will of the council at that time to determine what would happen. So that is the recommended process for those 2 properties that I am proposing.
Anyone have any questions for Jessica?
Your Honor, if I may.
Yes, you may.
As much as I don't like the sealed bid process, because I think some people overpay for lots, I definitely don't like us picking and choosing who can buy a lot. I believe in the free enterprise system. So I'll make a motion that these 2 lots be put out for sealed bid.
Okay, I have a motion. Do I have a second? I will second the motion. Let's have roll call.
Schneider,
No.
Thompson,
Yes.
Walker,
No.
Hoop,
Yes.
Kell,
No.
Lottiehoff,
No. Okay, I would entertain a motion.
Your Honor, I'd motion to proceed as laid out in the memo.
Okay, I have a motion to proceed.
I'll second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Is there any questions or comments from the public? Hearing none. Roll call, please.
Lottiehoff,
Yes.
Schneider,
Yes.
Thompson,
No.
Walker,
Yes.
Hoop,
Yes.
Kell,
Yes.
Okay. And our final item?
And our final item for this evening is related to the same process for 2 properties that are located in urban renewal area number 4. As I was consulting with our attorneys at Dorsey and Whitney about do we see that there'd be any other things that would be happening in urban renewal area number 4 as we're doing a plan amendment, I was like, this is a great time to bring up 2 properties that we own where it would make sense for us to consider disposal to get things back on the tax roll and to hopefully incentivize some economic development. So just a quick run through. 20 East Main Street was a 657A process. This is known more commonly as Angel's Store. There is some work to be done in the property. And initially, when we acquired the property in, I think it was May or June of last year, we thought this would be stuff we would want to see done. And here we are in nearly March of this year, and I think that the desire to sort of see those projects through is something that we think can be done in the private sector, and there's no reason with a private owner, and there's no reason for us to do them. However, we would require those as part of restrictions for the purchase of the property, and so this would include replacing the lower roof, which we know is leaking. There is a structurally unsound mezzanine that is in there. We also know that there is, we can assume that there's asbestos based on some comments from an inspector that we had, and so that testing is underway currently. And so basically, we would just provide in the bid document a report saying, here's what needs to be done, and that someone would be saying that they would do that, but they would have the ability to also tell us what they'd be doing with the property. This kind of then plays in also to 330 South 3rd Avenue, which we outright purchase this one, 328 and 330. The county recently combined those parcels together, and so we have a 0.8 acre lot, which it does look like we can vacate the alley on the north side of the property to make a slightly bigger lot, as there doesn't appear to be any utilities there. This is one that the demolition truly wrapped up at the end of last year as the seeding was done and grass began to establish itself. Ultimately, I would like to not mow this many times this fiscal year or next fiscal year, and so that's where we want to dispose of this one as well, just to get it back onto the public tax rolls. Now to the process. So both of these being in an urban renewal area, there is a code, a chapter in Iowa code that does have some special provisions for how you can dispose of property in an urban renewal area, different from what we're doing. And so it does involve putting out a request for proposals and having sort of a period where you have a 30-day window for proposals typically to be received. And that you hold a public hearing on the winning proposal, essentially. And so to think about this even further, the Chamber of Commerce has done a great deal of work in identifying some different needs that are retail and commercial. And I think it makes sense that as we have two properties that are fairly significant properties in downtown on a very visible block of Main Street and a very visible part of Highway 14, that we would work with the chamber and what they've done already to identify specific uses to see on the property. 20 East Main Street is urban core, and so these would all be things that I think would be allowable. 330 is a little bit different in that it is in a mixed-use district. So in addition to commercial, which we could say commercial limited to what is on the memo in front of you, mixed use, which would mean commercial on the first floor restricted to something that is on the memo in front of you, residential on the top, or multifamily residential as well. So there's a little bit more use that could happen in that scenario than with 20 East Main. So the process would be to issue a request for proposal that would certainly need to be reviewed by Dorsey and Whitney as they would be setting up that process and helping us move that forward. And then I would recommend an evaluation group of council members, staff, MCBD staff and board members, chamber staff and board members to really come together around some assets that we have that we really truly hold the future of what that contributes to the community. And so nothing has been drafted. This is just before you tonight as an option that I think brings us together in better alignment with some community partners.
Jessica, is there a great need for axe throwing?
There is a great need for activities and entertainment.
Okay. Thank you. I was unaware of that. Okay. Questions for Jessica?
One motion I'd like to make is in regards to her request for pulling together a group of stakeholders to surround this issue and look at what our opportunities are. I would like to move forward with that.
Any other questions or comments?
Point of order, Your Honor, was that a motion?
I would like it to be, yes.
It's a motion. Okay.
I'll second.
Do I have a second?
Can I ask for some clarification? Would this be beyond evaluating proposals? What would be the role of this group initially?
Well, the purpose of the group is to pull together with distinct perspectives from around the community to review proposals, but I think that the other need that we'll have will be a second motion, which will give you some direction on what proposals you consider based on your recommendations.
And just as another little clarification of, this is not the only land that we owned in downtown. This is not the only building. So, I mean, this can be a group of stakeholders that continues as we have this probably same conversation with you in a few months.
So we need a second on his motion?
Kel seconded.
Okay. I have a motion and a second. Do we have anybody from the public that would like to make any comments? Anyone else have any questions? Okay, roll call.
Schneider,
Yes.
Thompson,
No.
Walker,
Yes.
Hoop,
Oh.
Kell,
Yes.
Lottiehoff,
Yes. Okay. You have direction for what you need?
I would still.
I'm going to make the second motion to proceed as planned. I think we need to try this process out, see how it works. As Jessica alluded to, we've got a lot of properties downtown where we may want to take this path. So I'd make that motion to proceed as in the memo.
I will second.
I have a motion and a second.
Your Honor, if I may.
Yes, you may.
As far as I know, there's only two of us up here that own small businesses, Councilman Schneider and myself. One of the obstacles that I had in opening a franchise business was the franchisor had a say in the location. No property owner was keeping me out. And that's what this process will do, is we are going to pick and choose who we want. And if we don't like all the proposals, we'll just sit on the empty lot. And I don't, again, I can't express enough that we cannot legislate morality. I mean, in the sense of, that's too strong of a word, in the sense that let the public decide. Let the guy that's going to foot the bill and build a business, let him decide if it's viable or not. Let him choose the site. Again, let's just put these lots out for bid, and if he or she thinks they have a viable business to go into that store, time will tell. I mean, that's not our job to tie the hands of any prospective small business owner or any developer. And I'm actually quite shocked that the chamber's not against this, that we should not limit development in this city this way. So thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Your Honor.
Yes.
I just think that the point of distinction that I feel around this issue is that I'm of the opinion that without the chamber coming to the table, informing the city, providing a landing strip for good dialogue, considerations around what is best and what will not only serve Marshalltown but a potential business owner's ROI, I think that those are the partnerships that make long-term commitments and business opportunities possible. And I think that we have had a lot of, we've had a traction building year with the chamber, and I'm excited to see these types of conversations and partnerships going forward.
Your Honor, I hear what you're saying, Gary. I see this more of an advertisement as Marshalltown's open for business. I think there's plenty of lots that could be repurposed if there's the demand there for multiple people wanting to develop. So at this stage, it doesn't concern me as much.
Fair enough. Any other comments?
To echo on a couple of those last two comments, I think we're making an assumption on what that barrier is for a business to come in. This may remove a barrier for a business to come in providing a space, whether it be land or a building or something. So this may not be a hindrance. This may actually be a positive for them, because the RFP is part of the evaluation. It's not simply the highest bidder wins.
Something, can I add, just to clarify here, because I'm not sure that I included it in the memo. So these items that the chamber has listed, they have a $25,000 retail incentive grant for those. So they have specifically said that this is something they're willing to invest in. And so we have the asset that helps make that possible. And one of the things that this summer, the chamber brought in Small Nation out of Bellefontaine, Ohio, and it's a smaller town than we are, similar in many ways, but to see how, and John can speak to it because he visited, but how much small business occurs in their downtown compared to ours was very, very surprising. And it's because they've been very strategic and intentional about making sure that empty spaces are being filled with things that the community wants and that the community needs.
Your Honor, if I may follow up?
Yes.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Jessica, the last time we used this process, we sold a city asset building for $35 because we got to choose in the historical district who to sell it to.
You're correct, referring to 22 North Center Street and the sale to YSS.
So I guess, I just don't like this, I guess I'll just say this, I just don't like this process. Let the highest bidder have the building, let him bring he or she bring their own business in, they will find out if it works or not.
Thank you. John?
Good evening, John Hall with the Marshalltown Area Chamber. I figured I best stand up and speak given the number of times the Chamber's name has been thrown out there. But, really this is about trying to find the highest and best use of these properties as we look at our retail leakage. And this is data-driven information used to determine kind of what our needs are in the community based on true retail leakage. There are some additional leakages that we haven't, or at least maybe they're less now, but there were some significant retail leakages that also could have been part of that, but didn't fit the needs of kind of the retail restaurant activity that we're trying to drive forward, that ultimately drives us forward as a retail destination, a tourism destination, and the like. And so really, these are designed to try and meet that need. To think about the restrictions that a community might place on potential uses. I mean, you do that through zoning code every day. That's the reality is there are uses, or there are businesses that we would not allow into this community, probably no matter where they're at. And so this is not unlike that process, but it's trying to look at how are we attracting experiential retail, high use, high traffic retail restaurants to our community, knowing that this is an area where high traffic yields more sales for all businesses around. And so being really thoughtful about how are we driving that forward, not just with service businesses that would be really easy to take a building like this. And it's not to say anything against our service businesses, but they don't see that same turn in traffic, that same high traffic that you would look for in other retail restaurants that would ultimately elevate the entirety of downtown. We know that space is at a premium right now. We get calls just about weekly looking for space. We've pointed a number towards, in particular, the 20 East Main Street property, and so we know there's high demand out there. The hope is that we could really use this as an opportunity to meet the needs that we have in the community. Again, using data-driven methods to arrive at those conclusions. So, thank you.
John?
Oh, yes.
The businesses listed, are those the only ones that will accept there, or are those the type of businesses that we want there?
So it tries to be broad categories used to meet those. Activities and entertainment was an item that we had, and I tried to find some uses that defined that, but included the et cetera so that it could be looked at further. Golf simulator, axe throwing is gaining a lot of popularity. So it's not to say these are trying to be broad categories. I think a lot of different types of businesses would fit into these spaces, but really, again, it's trying to get away from things that are more service oriented and really trying to think about what's our retail landscape look like, so that if somebody is walking down the street from business to business, that this could be another stop in their retail tour of our community.
Okay, thank you.
Your Honor, may I ask a question of John, please?
Yes, you can.
John, so taking this a step further, have you had conversations with businesses and building owners on Main Street that are not retail businesses, that are offices. If we have such a demand for being in this mixed downtown, you know, Realtor office going in downtown, we've got the building across from the courthouse that houses several offices. Are you having, you know, those are just two examples. Are you having conversations to push them back off Main Street the way it was back in the retail strength of Main Street back in those days?
No, that's a legitimate question and something we struggled with as we have announced our office space being on Main Street, being in a rehabilitated building. It's a challenge and a problem. I'm going to kind of break it down into really where we're at as a community. We have high demand for retail space at the, I'll call $8 to $10 per square foot, which is kind of the existing spaces that we've got. What we don't have at this point is the demand for the folks that are at the $16 to $20 a square foot, which is kind of the remodeled spaces. And then we know we have new spaces that are being talked about coming on, which are the $40 per square foot. And so we're really at this retail cliff in our community where we need to grow our retail destination perception at a rate fast enough to overcome those rent differences, the doubling of rent effectively, in order to fill those new renovated spaces with that really high quality retail restaurant. It's a gap. It's a challenge. We don't have people knocking at our doors going, hey, where's the recently renovated spaces? Now, we don't have any recently renovated spaces that are currently sitting vacant. That's part of it too, is we've got a lag on getting those projects completed. But as I've told my board, as I've told others, if we get 10 years into our lease and we're up for renewal and the chamber is has to be a sacrificial lamb to make room for more retail restaurant, we would love nothing more than to have to move off Main Street or find a second floor somewhere because of that. But we're not at that point right now. But we do see asks for it. We see requests for it. See, Marla's Headliner is a perfect example of that, where we're switching that from a service to a restaurant. That was somebody who had inquired into our community looking for space, and I know 20 East Main was part of that discussion that she had. So we're seeing those requests. So not yet, but hopefully soon. Long-winded answer. I apologize.
No, I truly appreciate that answer. Thank you, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions for John?
Thank you.
John. Is there any other comments from the public? Anything from the council? We have a motion and a second. Roll call.
Walker?
Yes.
Hoop?
Yes.
Kell?
Yes.
Lottiehoff?
Yes.
Schneider?
Yes.
Thompson?
No.
Okay. And I believe that is the last item on the agenda. I call the meeting adjourned at 7:12 PM. Had a lot of good discussion.